tonight is Nicole.
Hi.
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Oh, just fine. It's been a while since it's just been you and I.
Yeah, it has been.
We had the whole team on for the end of year shows, and we've had busy times. I feel like we haven't been able to sit down, just the two of us, for a bit.
Yeah, I've been under the weather for a while, but finally kicking it a little, so here I am.
Glad to have you back for a really fun, uplifting film. That's Sound of Freedom. Sound of Freedom. And this came out last year, 2023. It's one of the movies we were catching up on. It made a bunch of money unexpectedly over the summer. It became a surprise box office hit. Perhaps someone in your life you know who doesn't usually talk about movies was all of a sudden saying, "Oh, have you heard and seen Sound of Freedom?" Perhaps this is a certain group of people that were telling you to see this. But Nicole, did you know anything about Sound of Freedom going in?
No, that's interesting that you're saying that, because I still don't quite understand why you're saying that, and I know we talked it through while we were watching it, and I think we can kind of gather some of the clientele that this movie might relate to or speak to, rather.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I didn't know anything about this.
After rescuing a boy from ruthless child traffickers, a federal agent learns the boy's sister is still captive and decides to embark on a dangerous mission to save her. This has a 57% on Rotten Tomatoes with the critics, but a 99 with the audience.
Wow.
Crazy high. 36 on Metacritic, whoa, and 7.7 on IMDb. Ratings are all over the place.
It is.
This is, if we haven't said it so far, it says so right on the Wikipedia description, described as a Christian thriller. So this is distributed.
That's a fucking crazy
it's just
genre.
It's distributed.
I've never heard of that.
You've never heard of the Christian thriller genre?
What else could be put into that genre?
I don't know. There's probably other faith-based film. It's a faith-based film. It's distributed by Angel Studios. Stars Jim Caviezel, who's a very Christian man who played Jesus, Passion of the Christ. So you know. This is a faith-based Christian leading film. Definitely has the themes in the movie when we get into spoilers, which we're going to do now. So if you haven't seen Sound of Freedom, it's on Prime now. I think that's where we saw it. So that is the free space for you, Prime, and we're going to spoil it here now. So Sound of Freedom takes place in 2013 thereabouts. We start off with a man named Roberto Aguilar. He is a man living in Honduras with his children and is approached by a former beauty queen who says, "Oh, your children very, very good for my modeling agency. Here, if you take them to this place, we can get them to do photo shoot and maybe we'll get them modeling contracts." And he's like, "Oh, sounds like a wonderful ticket out of here." And he takes them and leaves them there for the day and comes back, and the children are gone. They are not there anymore. They've been taken away. The place looks abandoned. And we cut to California, and we meet our film protagonist, Tim Ballard, Special Agent Tim Ballard of Homeland Security Investigations, and he is cracking down on child pornography. We were introduced to him basically tackling a caricature of a pedophile with the creepy mustache and the big glasses and the sweaty brow and all.
Huge caricature.
It's
the stereotype.
The pedophiles in this movie are very they're picture a pedophile in your mind. That's what they look like.
Typical disgusting loners, all of them. That's clearly not the case, but
yeah, in this film they are primarily portrayed as, in any case, he grows frustrated with the system because he finds that they are capturing a lot of these pornographers and traffickers, but they're not actually saving enough of the children. They're not getting the kids back. So he's on a mission down in Colombia, I believe, and he decides he's going after the whole thing is he's going after this little boy's sister. He rescues this little boy, and he's going to go save the sister, the one who gets taken in the beginning of the movie, and that's him his whole reason he quits his job. He meets like some bands of rebels kind of people. He infiltrates, pretends to be one of the sex trafficker people, and he's gonna be kind of like a vigilante and try to find this girl and bring down these sex traffickers in South America primarily. So, Nicole, Sound of Freedom. What did you think of this film?
Well, first I'll preface by saying I've never seen Passion of the Christ, so I didn't know this was Jim Caviezel. I knew that he played Jesus in that movie, but I didn't know this was him. So now that when you said that, I'm like, oh my god, obviously. Like,
it's all making sense now.
Who else would they have chosen? Like that's wonderful.
Tim Ballard, I think, asked for him specifically to play him. Yeah, because Tim Ballard, also a man of faith, obviously 9 children, doesn't trust the Hollywood elites, and wanted a man who would
that is
not
very
kowtow.
interesting.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. So the feeling of the scenery gave me the same feeling as that movie with Hemsworth that we watched.
The Triple Frontier?
Yeah. I felt
it was Oscar Isaac, I believe, was the guy.
Well, there's another one with...
there's another one with
Hemsworth.
Hemsworth?
With the Hemsworth?
Oh, well, I don't know. There's multiple drug trafficking in the jungle. Was Hemsworth also in that one?
It's not the same premise, but it looked the same.
That's why I thought it would be Triple Frontier, because that looks...
Extraction.
I was in the Middle East, I think, but okay, I get what you're saying, like the filmography.
It's always all yellow and dusty, and South America is always yellow, and Central America in these films. So they all look the same.
They got that yellow-orange filter.
What's the other one? Sicario and all them. They're all the same color, so that's why I get confused. But immediately already thrown off by the pedophile greasy mustache man. Like, it's just so not how it is, and I think that the movie lost a lot of momentum with that, because we're setting ourselves up for looking at the elite that are doing this around the world, and to start it off by some sleazebag that's like, oh, I could buy children. Like, I can't imagine that's
not how you picture the real world working.
I don't know. I have never been anywhere part of this, so I can't really speak
from
on
experience.
I can't, and I can't speak for that. I think anybody I know would do that, so I don't know if how accurate that would be, but it was just like comical, like, oh, this guy that's clearly in the government in some capacity is actually a pedophile and is going to be on my side. Like, you can't be that naive. You can't be that gullible. It was just like, it set it off so goofy for me. So we get past all that, and then the line that kicks off the premise of this movie is, he says, Tim, how many pedophiles have you found? And he says, however many. And then the guy goes, well, how many children have you found? And he's like, oh, fuck. Like, I need to find some kids.
Yeah, I need to
find some kids.
I never thought about it, but you're right.
I need to save the kids. So that kicks us off, and we see his backstory with his family, and I was so confused, because if you look up Tim's family in real life, mm-hmm. It's him and his wife. They're both blonde white people, and they've got blonde white children. But in that scene where they show his family behind, there's like a Hispanic child, and there's like a. I swear, maybe I'm not remembering.
I don't remember his family being of mixed.
I swear there was one dark-haired, dark-skinned boy there. I swear to God, I'm like, that. Did they adopt children? That's what I thought it was. But then I saw the picture of the family at the end. I'm like, no, they're all copy paste. They're all copy paste of the parents. So maybe I missaw that, but I was like, okay, maybe they adopt children. I don't know, but guess not. But interesting story. Heartbreaking at times. You really have to. If you're not the religious type, you can still see the dire necessity to tell a story like this. And I just think it's important for people to understand the magnitude of what this movie is trying to bring to light. And it's something I think you can put aside as being a Christian movie. I mean, there's a lot of references to God's children and this and that, and like,
there's a couple of lines that are
if you're not into that, like, okay, you might not take it as seriously, those lines, but still the story is what's most important. So I'm glad that this type of story is being told. The fact that this is based on a true story, that's very interesting. I did not research this afterwards to read Tim's words on his experience. Mm-hmm. While we were going through the film and doing all these tasks, and the character Tim gets to the village, and it's so movie drama, and it's like one person speaks, and then one person speaks, and then no one is screaming or carrying on, and it's not crazy. It's not like, why is there this white man here? Like, imagine what he went through there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the actual execution.
It would have been
kind of stagey, kind of like
exactly.
Like
yes,
TV movie
it's
feeling.
So staged.
Yeah,
absolutely. I wish it was more chaos, because I can only imagine what he went through if he actually did that in the same way. So there's all types of things. I feel like it would have added more drama and like I can't even think of the word, like being scared about what's going on, as opposed to this is a scripted thing. I know I'm kind of blabbering on, but there's a lot in this movie, actually, now that I think back to it. A lot of steps. I thought it was going to be done at one point, mm-hmm. But it wasn't, because I knew that we had so much more to go through, and that part that I thought was the end, I briefly thought this was after the first round of children are saved.
That would have made more like that. I feel like the movie was leading up to that better, and then we're like, oh yeah, that's right, that wasn't the actual plot. We had another thing we had to do, and then we have to do another 25 minutes of
they dropped the movie title. Mm-hmm. We're like, oh shit, this is the Sound of Freedom. Like, we're done, we're here. And then
you hear that? That's the Sound of Freedom. They say it right there, and you're like, all right, this feels like the end of the movie. Like, the mission complete, except they didn't save the girl. But
and then we learned that the girl wasn't there, and I'm like, oh fuck, we've got another hour, I bet.
It was like 35 minutes, but you're right. It was it was more.
So we'll talk more, but I am surprised at the. I don't want to say surprised. I guess the ratings kind of fall where I expect them to, because this is the type of movie that it's the type of subject matter that people enjoy watching. People like desperation and crime, and people like true stories. So that's probably why the audience score is so high. But I mean, the things that we've already started touching on, how the movie's made, I can see why it's a 37 for a critic rating. So, I'm curious what you think about it, and some scenes that you latch onto. From it.
Yeah, after watch, because like I had heard in my movie circles, like the big people pushing for it were like conservative people politically. That's what I had heard, and I had not known, I had not seen it.
I didn't hear anything about that.
Yeah, I mean, I listen to more movie things, and movies in general are left leaning. In general, Hollywood's a left leaning institution.
Well, the blockbusters I feel like are, because they're the ones with more backing, as opposed to Angel Productions.
Sure,
probably make less than a handful of movies a year that make it big.
This was a little backstory. This was produced by 20th Century Fox in 2018. It was completed. It was done, and that's when they got bought out by Disney. And Disney said, "We don't want this film." And they cut him loose, and then, or they didn't cut him loose. They said, "We're not going to put this out." The creators of the film repurchased the rights, and then Angel Studios bought the Right.
What a fucking bullshit move, Disney.
And that's
you
why...
fucking assholes made these people buy this fucking movie back. I can't stand that. It's disgusting.
See, look at that. They buy the corporation, the big corporation.
That's disgusting.
And this feeds into the fuel of, there's QAnon people who enjoy this film. There've been a lot of, like, even Jim Caviezel himself has said things that are, like, borderline, maybe worse. Like, just like, but when you're going through this and you're trying to make your movie and you think it's a very important thing, and then the big Hollywood studios throw your baby out with the bathwater, you maybe feel like, oh, they are out to get me. There is this conspiracy going on. That's what people think. And so I'll go back to like the ratings. Like, what I'm surprised by most watching this movie is how, like, it's just kind of like a bland TV movie. Like, it's not really super. It's not super crazy, like, faith over the top beating you, like, oh, like, there's not so much Christian God imagery where like they say a couple lines and you can tell by the gentleman, but other than that, like, it's not. I didn't find it over the top in the Christian way. I found it over the top in, like, this is just like a boring TV movie. Everything's heavy-handed. What you said, the way people talk, like, I let you finish your sentence, and we speak in clean little crisp things.
I get it. You have to do that when it's a movie because there's a script, but, like,
you can make it
different
though, and, like, more naturalistic.
You can have conversation.
We've done other movies that are like almost every movie's written. Even some documentaries are partially written. So, like,
why aren't there more people screaming at him when they get offshore in the rainforest? Like, you know what I mean? Right. Just like anything of intimidation or what the fuck is this guy doing here? Like, it's just like, oh, he's here now. Okay, give me your stuff. Okay. Don't look at me. Like, come on.
I was gonna say some of this stuff, like, we'll talk about sound design when I talk about Zone of Interest with Jess later on. That'll be a very different discussion on sound design and how important it is and how much it adds to a film. Or in this, it doesn't feel, the action scenes don't feel like crazy. Like, they're okay, competently done. There's not like a ton of, like, over the top fighting though that you'd think you would want in a movie like this. And then, like, the actual, like, execution of a lot of, like, just the in between scenes. Just kind of standard stagey people talking in rooms, but, like, nothing's inspired. It's very basic dialogue. Like, it's just very surface flat. And then I think about, like, the people who are, like, watching this, like, it's got 99% with the audience. Like, everyone who's going to see this is liking what they're seeing, and a lot of people are like, oh, this is an important movie. Like, you gotta get. There was the campaign, we haven't talked about it yet, the Pay It Forward campaign, where, like, you would go and buy your friend a ticket or something to the movie because otherwise they wouldn't see it, and then there would be...
What the hell are you talking about?
This campaign going on when this movie came out, the Pay It Forward campaign, where they wanted you to buy an extra ticket. The producer of the movie pushed for this. You buy an extra ticket to the movie for, like, your friend or something, and then there would be entire sold out shows where there would be, like, almost nobody in the theater. That's why part of the reason why it made so much additional money is that people would donate to this cause by buying tickets to the movie, you see.
My jaw's on the floor. I didn't hear anything about this.
You didn't hear? That's what I was surprised. You usually hear about all of the social, like, pop culture events going on. I'm just surprised you didn't hear.
Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting though. Sounds like it's that's probably why it did so well, because all the people that were related to the people in the movie bought 5,000 tickets each.
There's I was looking into, like, what you said, how much there's so much backstory to this movie. Like I already said, the Disney cutting it from the list, and Jim Caviezel's weird thoughts in real life, and the QAnon people buying it, and the push.
This one slipped under my radar.
I was looking up all kinds of just the rundown of, like, how did he actually fund these operations? In real life, Tim Ballard, do you know who he said he got the majority of funding from?
Ugh, please tell me.
Glenn Beck.
Oh, God.
Those who don't know, Glenn Beck, conservative commentator for decades. I guess Glenn Beck contributed. He's very passionate about child trafficking as a issue, and so supports Tim's organization, the OUR, the Our organization, the one that helps trafficking victims. And
it leads you to wonder how much. And I'm not saying this just because this is a conservative leading film. I mean this for any film. I never think about how much weight that puts into the way the story's told, and what was omitted or added, and that's like it just puts it into perspective because we don't talk about this issue with many movies.
No.
But,
that's part of the reason I picked, like, this is an Oscar movie, like, we're kind of at the end of the year, and we're catching up on Oscar movies, or doing brand new stuff, and so, but this was one that, like, we, just like some of the international movies, we don't do Christian films really ever, and, like, not because, like, we don't want to, but, like, honestly, I watch a lot of movies, I've seen some, there just aren't a lot of good ones, like, they're kind of not good, like, they have a lower standard of quality, and then this one, big hit, I want to see what the big hit is, and, yeah, this is the big hit. I don't know. I'm a little I get the issue. The issue is
that's why it's big, because this is a huge topic in the 2020s, like and beyond that. But it's recently come up, and I mean, obviously they made this film about 6 years ago, but there's so many like crime podcasts and things talking about everyday abductions and things that are way beyond our scope of imagination in this world, and being able to tell a story, a true one at that, that's what grabs people about it. They say, oh my god, I want to hear about how somebody fought a topic like this. How did somebody prevail over something like this?
And they want the common man too, the individual who's like, oh, I'm not doing enough in the government. I need to go and be my own. Like, I feel like the audience watch this, like they're that independent, by your bootstrap. Like, the government's not going to help.
This guy quit his government job to go find stolen children,
which he did in real life, and that was another reading into all the real lives. The actual story this is structured around, the little boy and the little girl, not based on an actual little boy and little girl amalgamation of things. The main thing that is true about this movie is the operation, which is the one that they show in the middle. Like, what I would say is like kind of like the movie making wise, the best scene when they're actually
the island.
Yeah, when they're actually at the island and they bring the kids. Like, it's a little. It's a little cliche.
It's too easy. It's too easy. Like, this was all
they walk
worked
them.
out.
They walk them all on. Like, they just walk all the kids on, and then the pedophiles come, and they're all the cartoon character pedophiles, and then we meet the main pedophile, and he's like, "No one stands between me and my chicken." That's what he calls them. That's what they call the little kids. That they call him chicken, and they just like, "Oh, I am the big main guy. I am so strong." And then Jim Caviezel, of course, are like, "Yeah, you gotta show him who's boss by defeating them." And like, they have the showdown where he pulls the gun and he's like, "Leave that's my kid. You gotta leave him alone."
That guy would have been fucking killed.
Yeah, like all that. Like, even Tim Ballard, he's like, "Yeah, that's dramatization. Like, that didn't go down like that." The way it really went down that day was it was over three different locations. One of them was the island, which Ballard was at, and there were 50-something people there that they saved, but I think only 28 or 29 were kids, and the rest were adults. But in total that day, they rescued 54 kids and another 120 adults. But not everyone was sex trafficking victims, various trafficking victims, which I don't remember. Do they make it a point that it's sex trafficking in this movie, or do they just mean all human trafficking, all slavery?
It's pretty leaned into the sex trafficking portion of it, but that is a fucking story. Why didn't they say that? Why didn't they have the adults there? I guess it was to highlight the children
to your
problem.
Point, when you're making this movie and you have a lens and you have
for sure.
But we don't ever think about that we don't think about that as much when we're watching other movies that are, for the most part, left-leaning movies. Like, there are truly non-political movies out there, I guess. But really, everything has a point of view, and usually that point of view accepts a certain reality. And this is not one that usually gets the play when it comes to movies. Like, we don't see this, like... And I kind of get why. Like, honestly, if this is, like, the best of the Christian cinema of last year, like, it's it's like an okay TV movie. Like, it's quality wise, judging it completely on a film basis. Like, it's an okay lead performance. He's Jim Caviezel, a charismatic gentleman. Like, he's got that steely look. I understand why people like him. The mustache twirling villains twirl the mustaches. Bill Camp, the beloved character actor Bill Camp, who plays Vampiro. Yeah. I love seeing him. We've seen him in. I wonder how many movies we've reviewed that he's in. I bet he's towards the top of the list because he's been in.
Yeah, I was looking at his filmography while we were chatting.
Molly's Game, Red Sparrow. We did Joker, Dark Waters. Yeah, he's in lots of stuff that we talk about. Usually, obviously a background character. But who else is it? Mira Sorvino is the wife. Not given a lot of scenes, but like we were saying before though. Like the big climactic scene though, I think feels like the big sting operation scene, and then we have to do another, like, movie structure standpoint, we have to do another 30 minutes of Rescue the Kid. I get why we have to do that, and like for the story to wrap up, but I find that part less, even though we're like in the jungle and they're pointing the guns on the river, and even though like, oh, he's all alone, like it feels weird too. Like, it's like, how does this actually work? Also, again, real life, not how this went down, because he didn't really go into the middle of the jungle and find a girl like this.
What did Tim say about this scenario?
Yeah, he didn't actually go to the middle of jungle and fight Fark by himself. He's never killed anybody. Also, so that scene where he kills the guy, Tim Ballard has never had to kill anybody in his missions, both for the government and as his own. So he also he makes the distinction. OUR, they're not a vigilante. They work with foreign governments and provide intel and equipment and stuff like that. So they try to make it very clear that we're not doing anything illegal or bad. And then, as I've read more about this organization in real life, they can exaggerate their claims on how much they do. Like, how many of these people that they save are, victims of sex trafficking or are sex workers, and this is now busting a illegal sex work operation where they're getting paid, but it's prostitution and it's illegal in the circumstances. So this is a lot of and then like adults, like they portrayed in the movie, the woman who's like the former beauty queen, and she like lures the children and kind of like runs like that. She like manages the operation. Like, there are adults who will get captured and claim they were victims too, and sometimes they will be believed, and so only the big captains of the operation will actually get. So it's just a muddy area. It's a lot of like, how can you trust like the stats? You're working with other governments that it's unstable, so you just gotta be like, it's a gray area. They're not true blue, like, only like the government won't help and only these group of Americans can come in and save us. But it's also not like they're these evil, like, lying, like they're not, there's a lot of truth in here. It's just not, it's dramatized. It's dramatized.
Yeah. And they can do what they want to choose what to highlight versus not highlight. As I'm sure you've read through your research about this gentleman here.
As I say, like, if we were just saying, like, if it would have been more interesting if they had told the facts and made it just a different kind of story, but they wanted to, it has a point of view that it wants to get across, and that's it's not like it's an invalid point of view. It's just it compromises on the underlying, in my opinion, it compromises the underlying story a little bit and changes what I'm actually watching. Instead of I'm watching, Guy Ritchie's The Covenant, which is a movie that came out last year that's about U.S. military and is very well told in that perspective. Where this is, I don't know, some manipulation and also just the general movie making. It's just kind of mid, but. Did you have any other thoughts, Nicole? This is the tough part. Are we going to recommend Sound of Freedom? You going to recommend it?
Well, I feel like you're leaving out quite a bit of information that I have just come across.
Oh, okay.
And I think that this... Did you read his Wikipedia?
Whose Wikipedia?
Tim Ballard.
I mean, I skimmed parts. I've grabbed bits for this, but what are you finding right now?
You didn't... I can't believe you were going to leave this out.
What was I going to leave? All right, well, you have to... I was going to cut around this, but now I'm going to just leave it all in like this. What do you got?
I'm afraid to say. I don't want anyone to come for me.
What do you mean anyone come for you? We got, I think...
I can read this just as is.
Hey, if it's bad, I'll cut it out and get rid of this whole part, and it will just cut to the recommends.
Tim Ballard is no longer the CEO of OUR.
Oh yeah, I did read this, but yeah, go ahead. You should say this. This is a big part I forgot about.
He was removed in 2023 amid accusations of sexual misconduct, and shortly afterward, 5 women filed a lawsuit accusing him of coercing them into sexual acts during his sting operations.
Maybe it's a conspiracy because his movie got popular and they're trying to tear him down because he's hiding the truth.
Another lawsuit was filed against him by a married couple, accusing him of sexual assault and grooming.
They probably work for the pedophile cartels and are plants by the deep state to have the babies in the tubes and the rich people and Tom Hanks eating their flesh. I don't know. Well,
it also does say that they adopted 2 children, but I feel like that was post movie timeline. So I think the child I saw, I must have been just how they made the cutaway shot look. You know,
it was the lighting that way.
They
were a darker shade. It wasn't melanin. It was just lighting.
You can make a movie about whatever you like and whatever spotlight you would like to.
They say never let the truth get in the way of a good story, because
surprised this wasn't a Weinstein film.
Yeah, well, all right. Yeah, I totally forgot about that part of yeah. So as additional context, again, trying to be fair, I've been trying to judge the movie on the movie.
That's fine, and I feel like I did my due justice as that.
No, I think you actually you seem to give the movie itself more props than without ignoring our surrounding things. I'm surprised by the surrounding things. I'm surprised there is surrounding things because it's such a bland 3-star movie. It's such a
there's surrounding things about everything in this world. So you just gotta. I mean, that was on Wikipedia, so I can't say it's 100% fact, but you gotta do your research on shit, anything. And clearly I didn't in the beginning of this because I didn't know any of this stuff that you said. But
I know you learned a lot here on this one. You go and think it was we're just talking about another whatever war heist whatever movie. You didn't even know.
Yeah, I am upset that that Disney forced them to purchase back something they were not going to use and actively told them that they wouldn't be, but who am I? I don't have
Disney supports child labor.
All right.
Child trafficking.
All right.
Allegedly. All right, Nicole, do you recommend Sound of Freedom?
It's tough. That's a tough one because I didn't mind the whole movie. Like, as I mentioned, I thought it was interesting that they had chose to highlight this type of thing, and the person that they highlighted in the film did wonderful things at that time. So if we're solely basing it on the movie, I think I would say yes. But I urge anyone to do research into anything that they decide to watch. If it's got controversy swirling, then it's definitely something to look into prior to your viewing.
You're saying where there's smoke, there's fire?
I'm saying something.
I don't think I'm gonna recommend Sound of Freedom purely on movie basis. Like if you didn't know any background going in, you just thought this was just. If you were going in and just thought it was any movie, any drama with some action about a general cause, it's just kind of boring. Like I don't know, I was not enthralled. Like I like Bill Camp's speech. The island scenes are kind of okay, but they're kind of bad. Like they're bad. Like they're not staged well. The blocking's weird. Everything's all clumped together. It's a weird clump of a movie. The sound design's not great. I don't know. Like it's just kind of fine. It's narratively competent. I know what's going on. People are good looking and they act in it. I don't know. It's kind of a mid movie, and it's one there. I'm like, I was more bored and confused by the hype either way. I'm like, this is not a movie to sweat over. So I think we've done our fair share of sweating on it. Did you recommend this? Was it one recommend?
Yeah,
one
I did.
Look at that. More charitable than I am. We're split decision on Sound of Freedom. So there you go. Sound of Freedom. Available now, Prime. And coming up, we've got Zone of Interest. I'll be doing that with Jess, and then Mama Kay and I will be talking about what will we be talking about? Oh, American Fiction. A couple of Oscar-nominated films coming down the pike. In the meantime, if you have things to recommend to us, Films with the Women in My Life on Facebook, reach out to me on Instagram and vote in the Instagram tournament. That's right, the top 32 movies as drafted by us. Not top, but most popular in our opinion. Drafted by us, and they're competing on my Instagram. That's Brennan_podhost. Vote for your favorites. Matches every day, Monday through Friday, pretty much till the Oscars, actually. I think it pretty much is going to go right to those last couple of weeks in middle of March.
I'm going to win that.
You usually have a good team. I think you've won two of the 4 years. A year for number 5. 5 years we've been doing this. 5 years in March. And if you have other things, anything else, reach out to us. We have an email, the show, filmswiththewomen@gmail.com. All right. Thank you, Nicole, for being on The Sound of Freedom. That's the sound of freedom. You hear that? Do you hear that? God's children are not for sale. Enjoy your movies.
Thanks for listening to Films with the Women in My Life. If you enjoyed being a listener in our life, please rate and subscribe on Apple Podcasts or on your favorite podcast app. Keep up with the latest from the show on Instagram at Brennan_podhost, on Facebook at Films with the Women in My Life, and on Twitter at FilmsWomenPod. Finally, you can email the show with questions and suggestions at filmswiththewomen@gmail.com. Original music for the show was created by Ian Burke and Chris Iwanek. Original artwork created by Nicole D'Alessio. This show is produced by Brennan Snyder. Thank you again for listening and enjoy your movies.